The mahogany-paneled halls of Thornfield Academy echoed with the clicking of expensive heels and the rustle of designer fabric. Headmaster Reginald Blackwood strode through his domain like an emperor, barely acknowledging the bent figure of Elena Vasquez as she pushed her cart of books through the corridor. Elena had been the Academy's head librarian for 23 years, her weathered hands organizing knowledge for privileged children who barely saw her as human. When a stack of rare first editions slipped from her cart during the alumni fundraising gala, scattering across the marble floor of the Grand Library, Reginald's voice boomed across the stunned crowd. "Mind your station, you ignorant peasant," he sneered, stepping deliberately on a fallen volume. "Your kind exists to maintain order, not disrupt it." The assembled donors, tech moguls, oil executives, pharmaceutical heiresses, shifted uncomfortably but said nothing. Elena knelt to gather the damaged books, her cheeks burning with humiliation. But behind her wire-rimmed glasses, her mind was already calculating. 23 years of organizing files, processing donations, and maintaining archives had given her access to more than just books. That night, Elena sat in her cramped apartment above the used bookstore she'd inherited from her mother, staring at a hidden panel she'd discovered years ago behind the Academy's rare manuscripts collection. Inside lay financial records that painted a very different picture of Thornfield's charitable mission, documents detailing massive tax fraud, bribery of education officials, and a systematic scheme to sell admission slots to the highest bidders while claiming need-blind acceptance. Elena's fingers trembled as she photographed each page with her phone. The Blackwood family had built their reputation on educational philanthropy, but these records showed millions diverted from scholarship funds into private accounts. Worse, she found correspondence revealing how they'd silenced previous whistleblowers, including her predecessor, the former librarian who'd supposedly retired early after discovering similar evidence. The next morning, Elena didn't return to work. Instead, she took the subway to Queens, where her former student Marcus Chen ran a small tech startup from a converted warehouse. Marcus had graduated 5 years ago, one of the rare scholarship recipients who'd actually earned his spot through merit rather than corruption. "Ms. Vasquez?" Marcus looked surprised as she entered his cluttered office. "What brings you here?" Elena set down a manila envelope thick with documents. "I need help exposing something terrible." Marcus's business partner, a brilliant programmer named Zara Okafor, leaned over from her workstation. She'd been expelled from Thornfield in her senior year after refusing to stay silent about sexual harassment from a wealthy donor's son, an incident that had been covered up and buried. "Let me guess," Zara said grimly. "Blackwood finally pushed too far?" Elena nodded, then pulled out her phone to show them photos of the hidden documents. 23 years of evidence. Financial fraud, bribery, witness intimidation. They've been stealing from scholarship funds and selling spots to billionaires' children. Marcus whistled low as he scrolled through the images. "This could bring down the entire board." "It will," Elena said quietly. "But I need your help to do it right." They worked through the night, creating an encrypted digital archive and planning a coordinated release strategy. Zara's fingers flew across multiple keyboards, setting up secure servers and anonymous tip lines. Marcus reached out to investigative journalist Sofia Restrepo at the Education Tribune, someone known for her fearless reporting on academic corruption. "We hit them during the spring benefit gala," Elena suggested, studying Thornfield's calendar. "Maximum donors, maximum media coverage. Blackwood will be giving his annual speech about educational equity." Zara grinned wickedly. "I can hack into their presentation system. Replace his slides with our evidence right as he's talking about helping underprivileged students." Elena spent the following weeks moving carefully, maintaining her routine while secretly documenting everything she could access. She photographed donor records, copied email exchanges, and recorded conversations using a small device Marcus had given her. Each piece of evidence was immediately uploaded to their secure server. The night before the gala, Elena sat in the Academy's library one last time, surrounded by the books she'd loved and protected for decades. Tomorrow, everything would change. She pulled out her resignation letter, not because she was giving up, but because she was finally ready to fight. The spring benefit gala filled Thornfield's grand hall with Manhattan's educational elite. Elena arrived early, dressed in her usual modest black dress, ostensibly there to oversee the library displays. Hidden in her jacket was a tiny camera, streaming everything live to Zara's servers. Reginald Blackwood took the stage at precisely 8 p.m., his practiced smile gleaming under the crystal chandeliers. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for supporting our mission of educational excellence for all. That's when Zara struck. The projection screen behind Blackwood flickered, then filled with a bank transfer record showing $2.3 million moved from the scholarship fund to a Cayman Islands account. Gasps rippled through the audience. What? Blackwood spun around, his face draining of color. Elena stood up from her table near the back. You want to talk about educational excellence? Her voice carried clearly through the sudden silence. Let's discuss how you've been selling admission spots for donations while telling the world you support merit-based education. More documents flooded the screen, emails discussing which students to reject despite perfect scores, records of consultation fees paid to education department officials, evidence of grade changes for wealthy donors' children. Blackwood pointed a shaking finger at Elena. Security. Remove this deranged woman immediately. But Elena kept talking, her voice steady and clear. Patricia Williamson, $50,000 to falsify her son's transcript. Senator Morrison, $100,000 to block the state audit. Dr. Elizabeth Hayes, $25,000 to alter standardized test scores. The room erupted as parents realized their merit scholar children had been competing against purchased grades. Board members frantically checked their phones as the evidence spread across social media. Marcus had activated their network of education reform activists, amplifying the revelations across every platform. Sophia Restrepo pushed through the crowd, her camera crew capturing everything. Mr. Blackwood, how do you respond to evidence that you've stolen over $15 million from scholarship funds? This is fabricated nonsense. Blackwood shouted, but his voice cracked as more damning evidence appeared on screen, including audio recordings of him discussing problem students who asked too many questions. Elena walked calmly toward the stage, the live stream following her every step. You called me an ignorant peasant, she said, facing Blackwood directly. You said my kind exists to maintain order. You were right about one thing, I have been maintaining order. 23 years of keeping perfect records of your crimes. Security guards hesitated, uncertain whether to intervene as federal agents suddenly filled the entrances. The FBI had been watching the stream too, and Sophia's preliminary reporting had triggered an immediate investigation. Reginald Blackwood, Agent Sarah Kim announced, stepping forward with handcuffs ready. You're under arrest for fraud, racketeering, and violation of federal education laws. As they led him away, Blackwood's empire crumbled in real time. The state pulled Thornfield's accreditation. Parent lawsuits began filing within hours. His personal foundation's board voted to remove him before midnight. Elena stood in the empty library the next morning, boxing up her personal belongings. Through the tall windows, she could see news vans still camped outside. Her phone buzzed constantly with interview requests and job offers from universities impressed by her meticulous documentation. Marcus appeared in the doorway, grinning. The Scholarship Fund Victims Compensation Program just got approved. They're using the seized assets to create real need-based aid. Elena smiled, closing the final box. Good. Maybe now education can actually serve the students instead of the donors. 6 months later, Elena testified before Congress about corruption in elite education, her carefully preserved evidence helping pass new transparency laws. The quiet librarian who'd been invisible for decades had become the voice of educational justice. Reginald Blackwood, meanwhile, sat in a federal prison cell, his $2.4 billion fortune frozen and distributed to his victims. The man who'd once ruled through intimidation and purchased influence had learned the hardest lesson of all, that truth, properly documented and courageously revealed, remains more powerful than money. And her new position as Director of Educational Integrity for the State Department of Education, Elena kept a simple motto on her desk: knowledge belongs to everyone. It served as a daily reminder that sometimes the most dangerous person in the room is the one everyone assumes has no power at all.